like to introduce you to Mr. Neely. As you all know, our topic this afternoon, this evening, is going to be about hurricanes. Bahamas happen to be in that thoroughfare for hurricanes, and we're going to get a glimpse and a history lesson about the great hurricanes of the past, and of course, all the sort of dynamics that go into forming hurricanes. So if you sit back and enjoy yourself, ladies and gentlemen,
Good evening, everybody. As I said, my name is Neely. I'm going to give you basically a brief overview of hurricanes. And first of all, I thank you all for coming, and hope that you come on again and invite me another time for another hurricane. My talk today will be on the Great Bahamas Hurricane of 1866. Hopefully it's before everyone around here was alive, so I won't have much problems. And it's based on my fifth book on hurricanes. It's called The Great Bahamas Hurricanes. It's my fifth book on Bahamas hurricanes, and it's one or two of them are for sale. So at the end of the talk, they're right here. First of all, actually, my first question is, most times they ask me, what is a hurricane? A hurricane basically is a tropical cyclone with winds exceeding 64 knots. That's 74 miles per hour, that blow anti-clockwise about to send in the northern hemisphere. And tropical cyclone is a powerful storm system characterized by low pressure center, numerous severe thunderstorms, and with strong winds and flooding rainfall. A tropical cyclone feeds on moist heat release called latent heat. And it's basically, a hurricane is what we call, as meteorologists call a warm core system. That basically means that at the center of the storm, it gets energy from latent heat and to the heat release within the storm. And it's different from mid-latitude cyclones like the cold front, where they get their energy from baroclinicy. And the term tropical simply refers both to of these systems which form almost exclusively in the tropical regions of the Earth and their formation in maritime tropical air masses. The term tropical and the term cyclone refers to a family of such cyclonic storms with anti-clockwise rotation in the northern hemisphere and clockwise rotation in the southern hemisphere. And depending on their location strength, tropical cyclones are referred to different names. Actually, everyone knows the term hurricanes, but if you mention a hurricane in China, they don't know what you're talking about. If you mention it in Saudi Arabia, they don't know what a hurricane is. Most of them know other terms. So, they know terms such as typhoons, tropical storms, cyclonic storms, and tropical depressions, and cyclones, which all have low atmospheric pressure at the center. And a hurricane consists of massive organized thunderstorms that spiral in towards a extreme low pressure of the storm's higher center. The origin of the word hurricane, actually the hurricane is a term that came from the Indians of this region, and the Arawak Indians, or what we call the Tanos, they call their gods hurricane. And the Maya Indians of Mexico, they also call their gods hurricane. The spellings are basically different, but they were named after their gods. And the actual origin of the word tropical was based on many cultures, races, and people that were actually based on the myths of various races of people. The United Nations sub-body, the World Meteorological Organization, estimates that in an average year, about 80 of these storms kills up to about 15,000 persons worldwide per year, and costs an estimate of several $billion worth of profit damage alone. And the problem is that they're told they occur almost every day. For example, there are two hurricanes in the just east of the eastern coast of Africa, and one in near the Indian Ocean, but we don't hear about them because everything is confined mostly to the North Atlantic. Meteorologists have estimated that between 1500 and 2012, hurricanes have caused well over 100,000 deaths in this region alone, and over 8 million deaths worldwide. Hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones are all the same violent storms originating over tropical oceans and are caused by different names all over the world. The same type of storm, like I said, is given different names over. In Australia, they're in the southern hemisphere, they call them cyclones. Or they call it by colloquial terms, willy-willies. In the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean, they are actually called cyclones. That's the only area of the region, area of the world where hurricanes or cyclones are not named. They're not named, and we have 7 general areas that hurricanes occur, and that's the only area in the world that they don't name hurricanes, or don't name, they call them cyclones, they don't name cyclones. They are called hurricanes, derived from the Carib or Arawakanian word in the Gulf of Mexico, Central and North America, and the Caribbean and Eastern North Pacific Ocean, just east of the international date line. And hurricanes is the name given to these intense tropical storms of tropical order, sustained winds of 64 knots and 74 miles per hour. From the Timor Sea to the far northwest Australia, they are called willy-willies. And like I said, there are 7 general locations. Here, in the Southeast Asia, they call typhoons. Here in the southern hemisphere in Australia, they call tropical cyclones. And in the Caribbean, and most people know, this is for Hawaii. These hurricanes influence Hawaii. They call hurricanes here and hurricanes here. And here, they're not named. They actually, the only place, like I said, it's not named. And they call tropical cyclones here. So depending on where you're located, and they're given different names throughout the world. In the Indian Ocean, all the way to Mauritius and the Arabian coast, they are known as Asifat. While they're called typhoons, originating from the Chinese word Taifu, going back as far as the Song and the Yang dynasties. And they basically, typhoon basically mean big or great wind. In the Philippines and South China Sea, west of the international line, they are called Bigayos or Chubasco, or simply a typhoon. And in Japan, they're also known as Repus or Typhoon. But they all refer to a certain weather phenomenon, what we as meteorologists call tropical cyclones. They are all the same tropical storms that share the same fundamental characteristics, aside from the fact that they rotate clockwise in the southern hemisphere and counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. However, by World Meteorological Organization, international agreement, the term tropical cyclone is used throughout the world. So the term tropical cyclone is something that most meteorologists will know as looking referred to as hurricanes. The term cyclone used by meteorologists refer to an area of low pressures in which events move counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and around the low pressure center, and are usually associated with bad weather, heavy rainfall, and strong winds. The Mesoamerican and Caribbean Indians worship many gods. They had similar religions based on worship of mainly agriculture and natural element gods. And even though the god names and the symbols were a bit different, people asked their gods for good weather, lack of hurricanes, abundant crops, and good health or for welfare. The Aztecs, the Mayas, and Taínos, and other Indians adopted from other civilizations, as Mayan, Indian, Aztecs, and Taíno, each god was connected with some aspect of nature. And each of these religions, hurricanes are aware of them and the respect for them, played a vital part of their religion. The destructive power of storms like hurricanes inspired both fear and fascination, and it's no surprise that humans throughout time have tried to control these storms. Ancient tribes were known to make offerings to the weather gods to appease them, and people in ancient times believed that these violent storms were brought on by angry weather gods. In some cultures, the word hurricanes means storm, god, evil spirit, devil, god of thunder and lightning. The native of the Caribbean and Central America had a healthy respect for those storms, and they actually an uncanny understanding of nature. In fact, one of the things that those Indians discovered, and to this day we still haven't discovered how they done that. They discovered the cyclonic nature of hurricanes, and how they know that still remains a mystery to this day. And we had to really realize the importance of satellites. That's when we realized the full effects of the cyclonic nature of hurricanes, until hurricanes and radars were developed in the 50s during World War I and World War II. But from 1400, 1500, those people knew that hurricanes, British wrote cyclonic in the Northern Hemisphere. The natives of according to their beliefs, had mixed the wicked gods hurricane, Jarakan, annually victimized, savagely ravaged their homes, inflicting them with destructive winds and torrential rainfall and deadly floods. These natives were terrified whenever these gods made an appearance. They would beat drums, blew conch shells, and shouted curses and did everything possible to thwart the gods and drive them away. Sometimes they felt that they were successful in frightening them off, and at other times they felt the fury of an angry weather god. Some of these natives depicted fearsome deities as carvings with hideous creatures with swirling arms ready to release its limbs and claim its prey. There are several theories about the origin of the word hurricane. Some people believe it came from the Caribbean, Arawak speaking Indians, but nobody knows it is. And they believe that these Indians named their god Hurricane, and over time eventually to the English word hurricane. And what happens is that the Spanish, initially Spanish and then English came, and they heard that they were speaking about this method was hurricane, and eventually they picked it up, and eventually that's how we know, that's where we get the term hurricane today. Ultimately, it originated from the Caribs, but most historians seem to suggest that it came more from the Taínos than the Caribs. Because first, one of the reasons that when the Spanish first came, they noticed that some of the ladies didn't speak a language that they understood, that the Caribs understood, and they asked them why. And one of the questions they asked about was hurricanes, and they said that the Indians told them about the word hurricane, and that's how they learned about it. The native people throughout the Caribbean link hurricane to supernatural forces and had a word for these storms, which they often had similar spellings, but they all signified death and destruction by some evil spirit, and by the early European colonial explorers through the world picked up on some of these native names.